Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast channel. Here we are reviewing the India squad for the Border Gavaskar Trophy in November, which starts on late November, so 3 weeks away. So we're almost there. We have a squad update, squad announcements to make, and we are here with Gaurav. Long time no see. I know you do come across in the comment
Yes.
section, but long time no see on this channel.
Yeah, been very busy, Lucas. So hope everything is good. Australia is playing cricket also today itself, and very disheartening to see Australia lost to Pakistan, mate.
Well, that's a shock to me because I haven't actually seen a single ball of that game. Now, it is actually having said that, it was actually played at Adelaide Oval today, my home
Yes,
venue.
you
As
must have
everyone knows,
visited that place.
I have visited that place and numerous. Actually, I was actually there last week for the state game for the Redback South Australia state game against Queensland. Sorry, against Victoria.
Okay,
Sorry.
that was,
So I was
and that was again a
I've
red
been to
ball.
the
That was again a red ball, right?
Yes, that was the Sheffield Shield, the Red Bull domestic competition for Australia.
Okay, so you
And
must visit the white ball
South
game
Australia
also.
actually. Well, they had a white. So they had in the domestic series in Australia. They have the Red Bull ran about Friday to Sunday, so 4 days, and they have the white ball midweek. I did not go to the white ball midweek. I actually, this might surprise you. I have actually been to white ball midweek games for the Redbacks for South Australia, because I am a SACA member, so kind of have to go and make value of that membership. But literally, they have 5 weeks, and they go, as you know, to the Big Bash. The Strikers, as you know,
Yes,
the domestic team.
the Adelaide
Um,
Strikers.
yes, they play 2 months. I don't go to those, but then when that's finished, the rest of the Sheffield Shield and List A white ball competition resumes um, in the domestic competition for Australia. So I do go to those games. So I actually do go to white ball games, believe it or not. That might shock some people, but to my domestic state, I will go to white ball games, just not the Strikers.
But but you still don't manage to do the show for the white ball games. Viewers had this complaint that you don't do the show for the white ball games.
Well, in order to do the show, you have to watch the white ball game. So it is a little bit hard, with timing. But having said that, I probably will do a review if anyone's out there review for the Pakistan and Australia white ball series. That will be a review done
Okay,
at the end of
okay.
the series. And I will host the T20s also. So there's some bonus content for you. I'll do the ODIs and T20s.
Finally, Lucas has finding
So
the interest in T20.
yeah. So the last white ball game is next week, so I'll drop the video that day. So as soon as that game ends, I will go live and preview the whole series, not just that game.
But till now, we need to move forward to red ball again. We'll obviously look at the squad for the Border Gavaskar Trophy for Indian team, and you need to go ahead. What's the team, Lucas?
So India, they've made their test squad. Some of the test squad are actually playing in the India A game, such as KL
Yes,
Rahul, Jarul. He's made a lot
Dhruv
of. He has actually
Jural.
made some run. He's made some runs in that
Yes,
game. He made an 80 yesterday, and he's not out currently in the second innings. Um,
and probably
so
Nitish Kumar Reddy is also playing there.
yeah, yes, he's also playing there. He's taken some wickets, Mukesh.
Yes.
Um, so they
No, I'm
actually
talking
had
about
a
Nitish Kumar Reddy. I'm talking about Nitish Kumar
Kumar
Reddy.
yeah, yes,
Yes.
he's also played in the first game. India played two India A games in Australia. This was a little bit of a more strong squad with, as you said, Reddy coming in, KL Rahul coming in. He
But tell
wasn't
me,
available for the.
yes, yes. But tell me one thing, what's the standard of this umpiring in this domestic game? Because I've seen one of the videos of today itself. Okay. I think the batsman was Marcus Harris and he just edged to the first slip and umpire has given a not out. It was done. I've seen a video earlier also. I think It was an Ashes video, right? And the Stuart Broad once, I think Ashton Agar was bowling and he edged to the first slip, and Alim Dar was the umpire of the Pakistan, and he gave that not out. The same thing I saw similar like that today in the domestic game of India and in the Australian 11.
Yeah, so that happened actually today, if you're not wondering. So
Yes, yes.
In domestic Australia, DRS is not considered. There is no third umpire review. Now they do, they do that in the strikers game, the Big Bash. They have DRS, but
Okay.
in red ball competition Australia, they actually surprisingly they did do DRS at one point. It used to be for the final, if I not believe. So the Sheffield Shield final, that's a big thing in Australia. You get 10,000 people, 15,000 people go on day one. That used to have DRS. Now, unfortunately, this is just a regular. Even though this is technically a first class game, this will count as first class stats,
Yes.
which is very good. About time as well. That's recently changed as a law. There is no DRS or technology available for these two games, despite playing at an ICC venue,
Yes.
MCG. So very strange. Well, that was the first game anyway, the MCG. So very, very strange that there is no DRS. But Australia's reason behind that, Cricket Australia reasons behind it, is that they say there's no need for it. You just have to go by whatever the umpire says. Steve Smith in the game recently for New South Wales got a very dodgy decision by Scott Boland to LBW, which Steve Smith did not like. So you just have to cop it, unfortunately. Can't review it. It's not a final. You just have to move on. With the Harris incident itself, per se, as you know, Harris edged it. Huge appeal. Every
To the
India
first slip.
heavily appealed.
Yes.
Yeah. And on the replay, the broadcaster has a benefit of the replay, even though there's no review system. There was an edge from Marcus Harris's bat. Marcus
Okay.
Harris hasn't been interviewed about that yet. I don't think he will be. But there was definitely an edge to that, and that's probably helped Marcus Harris's test hopes. He's probably going to play in the first test because of that. Strangely enough.
Yeah, we'll discuss. We'll discuss about this. Who's going to take the place of David Warner? Because suddenly I have heard this news that Steve Smith will back to his normal place. He will bat at number 4. Right? He's done with this opening slot. He's done with all the struggle, and he now have to wait again to bat at number 4 because his argument was totally different. That he waits quite a long period of time. For his batting, and he's batting at number 4. Okay, it's not like that more often than not in Australia, that every time he have to wait for a long period of time, because the opening combination is always that the David Warner and Usman Khwaja will bat at the opening slot, and the third position is obviously for the Marnus Labuschagne. But it's only happens in Australia that he has to wait for a longer period of time. But in the other country, he obviously goes out and bat. Probably he doesn't have to wait for a long period of time. That's the only thing which I found his statement was quite funny, because in Australia, the other team visit, they always struggle rather than India. Okay, Usman Khwaja scores runs, David Warner scores a lot of 100. Most of the David Warner 100 has always been in Australia. And if you look at the Marnus Labuschagne, he's almost played like a Don Bradman in Australia, right? The record is quite remarkable in Australia. So his statement was, probably I don't get that, because I can understand this point of view in Australia, but once Australia doesn't play in Australia, he goes out in the middle more often than not before that time. He doesn't need to wait for a long period of time. Okay, so we'll get back to the Australian combination as well, but for me now we need to discuss about this squad. Obviously, you're gonna announce the squad, or I will obviously repeat for the viewers.
So we'll start with the batsman now. Rohit Sharma. This is a very interesting one. He's the captain, of course, but there's been a lot of pressure, as you know, about his place in this team. Now he came out.
Lucas, sorry to interrupt you. Lucas, sorry to interrupt you. Just do one thing. Need to announce the squad properly. Then we'll discuss who gonna bat where and who will. What's the situation is going on with this Rohit Sharma, or even for the Virat Kohli, or for whomever you want to ask.
Okay,
Just
so
for the viewers plus. No, so-
we'll start with the captain, Rohit Sharma. Who's a
Yes.
right-hand batsman, as we all know. Jai Sarul is an opening batsman, left-handed batsman. So the top order, Raran.
Abhimanyu Ishwaran.
Yeah, he's a right-hand batsman. We got wicket keepers Richard Punt. We all know who Richard Punt is, especially the Australian
Yes.
bowlers.
The Australian bowlers.
Jarrell, we just mentioned, he's playing in the Australia A India A game. He's a wicketkeeper batsman. Safriz Khan, now he's just been added to that squad. He played in the New Zealand series, scored 100 in that squad. Right-hand batsman. Virat Kohli, we all know his record in Australia. Right-hand batsman. KL Rahul, wicketkeeper backup. He's playing in this India A game as well. Shubman Gill, opening batsman. Right-hand batsman, still only 25 years of age. So the all-rounders, we got Ravijani Ashwin. We all know what Ashwin is, one of the great spin bowlers of all time. Jadeja, probably one of the great all-rounders of all time. Kumar Reddy, who's playing in that India A game as we speak.
Nitish Kumar Reddy.
He's more of a batting all-rounder than bowling.
Yes.
Washington Sundar was fantastic against the New Zealand series. He picked up a lot of wickets, picked up a 10-wicket match. Bowling all-rounder, spinner. I think he's a right-arm off-break bowler. The bowling attack, we know who Jasprit Bumrah is. Again, probably one of the best fast bowlers in the world right now. Akash Deep, just brought back to the New Zealand series.
Jasprit Bumrah is also vice captain of this team.
Yes, that's correct. So, your vice captain Akash Deep, he was just recently added in the New Zealand series. Did quite well.
Yes.
He's a right arm fast medium. Harshit Raina, sorry. He's a right arm fast, probably a net bowler. Good pace about him. Right arm. Mohammad Siraj, we all know about Siraj. Very good bowler, world class bowler. Right arm bowler. And Krishna, I think he's a right arm bowler, right fast medium. Yeah, right arm fast medium.
Right arm tall fast bowler.
So interesting enough, and no Mohammad Shami.
Yes.
So,
and if you look at the travelling reserves also, I'm announcing the travelling reserves that Mukesh Kumar is travelling reserves, and Navdeep Saini and Khalil Ahmed. These three guys are travelling reserves. So I will take first question from you. I'm gonna ask the first question to you. What's the squad? What are you thinking about this squad and how they're gonna compete in Australia? So what's the first point of view about the squad of this Indian team?
Well, the first point would definitely have to be the captaining of Rohit Sharma. Well, not just the captaincy, the actual Rohit Sharma, the player.
Yep.
He's taken a lot of heat from that New Zealand loss, which was a historic. You don't go to India and get whitewashed. You don't actually lose in India, let alone getting whitewashed.
Yes.
Especially from a New Zealand team that's a little bit unknown. No disrespect to their bowlers, but this wasn't Australia. This wasn't in England. This was probably a lesser. Not that New Zealand is a lesser-known team. There was no Kane Williamson in that series. And their spinners are not productive as a Nathan Lyon. So pretty underwhelming loss for India. And Rohit Sharma has taken a lot of that blame. He said in a press conference that he doesn't know if he's going to be playing. Now, he's got family discussions coming up. So there's probably, he's well within his rights to miss if he wants to miss the test match. Well within his rights. There's no problem with that. It's family. But he has taken a lot of criticism. There was talks that maybe he should be dropped or stripped of captaincy. We have to remember he's been out of form for a while. He hasn't. It's not like this is like that New Zealand test was a once off. He's been out of form for a very long time. I think his last 100 was incidentally against Australia a couple of years ago. when they came over. I think from memory. Um, I don't think he scored many runs in South Africa after that.
Yep.
I don't. Yeah, so I think it's that series against Australia. So that's a long time, a very long time. India play a lot of Test matches. Don't forget, they are one of the few nations apart from Australia and England that play a lot of Test matches. And so that's a very long time. Virat Kohli. Now we know his record in Australia is probably one of the
Let's
best.
stick to the Rohit Sharma first. I think let's stick with the Rohit Sharma first. I think you're talking about the Rohit Sharma. He did admit in the press conference after the whitewash against New Zealand. And you're talking about the New Zealand first. I will do congratulate them because they have been team. They have been the team who have been doing wonders in the world cricket right now, and they are the only team who's giving a tough time to Indians. Okay, it's not about I'm talking about only the Test series. It's about the in the World Cup. If you look at the World Cup matches, they are the only team who's giving the tough time to the Indians in the World Cup stages. Okay, if you remember this 2019, I remember a lot of matches in the World Cup. Probably in the World Cup, more often than not in the World Cup, that New Zealand is the only team who is giving a tough time to the Indian. Okay,
World Test,
and
World,
probably
and
this
they
is
won. They
in
won
in
the World. They won the World Test Championship against India as well.
Yes, yes, yes. Thankfully, you did remember that. I know. Okay, but I don't like to remember that. But I think the last match we have won in the World Cup stages was in 2023 World Cup, the 50 over World Cup, which Rohit Sharma was. I think India got obviously beaten by Australia in that final game at Ahmedabad. But in that game only, in that league stages only, I think India beaten the New Zealand after a long period of time in the World Cup stages. But in the IC, if you look at the ICC tournament over quite 14 to 15 years, New Zealand has been in the upper hand for the India. Okay, New Zealand has been beating India in the ICC knockout stages, in the ICC tournament stages all the time. Even if you look at the T20 tournaments also, and the ICC T20 World Cup also, in New Zealand managed to beat India more often than not. So it's quite strange, and New Zealand is the only team after so long that they have managed to beat India in India, and what we call the streak was over, right? And
Yeah.
finally, a visiting team has managed to beat India in India. They not have only managed to beat India; they have totally whitewashed India at their home backyard. So that was a very different kind of a story for New Zealand. But coming back to the Rohit Sharma story, I think yes, he has been struggling for a long time. If you look at his form, he was quite good at this T20 World Cup. But after that, once he announced the retirement from the T20 World Cup, after the T20 World Cup, if you look at the series, he after that he played the series against the Sri Lanka ODI. I think India also went on to lose that series, and there again he didn't manage to score a lot of runs. Okay, his World Cup was quite good. I think he did manage to surprise Australia on that match. I think where he scored around 90 odd on 40 45 balls, right? So his tournament gone okay on that point of time at the world stages, but after that his form has gone. I don't I don't see where his form has gone at all because after that Sri Lanka series, he hasn't scored a runs. Same goes with Virat Kohli. After that, India played I think in with Bangladesh, right? And that
Yeah.
there also he didn't score a lot of hundred like that. So in the same after that, New Zealand has arrived in India, and probably player like Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, they've taken a long, what do you call it? I'm not finding the words. Like they're playing at their home backyard and they're not able to score a big run. So that's a big question to ask whether they should be playing a domestic cricket or not, because the the playing styles of this Indian players, like they are finding difficulty against playing the spin bowlers. It's not like they are the New Zealand bowlers are like Muralidharan, the Shane Warne. They're having
Yeah.
aura like that. Okay, it's like they have not been capable to playing a good spin. It is as simple as that.
Yeah.
I did ask you on the podcast also once you're doing the show with Michael Wagner, right? I did ask you the same question with once Michael was on our show, that player like Gambhir, even Gambhir was also quite good with playing spin. Like Sehwag, he was a murderer of spin. Okay, or Rahul Dravid, Lakshman, Ganguly, Sachin, for that matter, they were outstanding players in spin. But if I see this kind of player, they always struggle more often than not. Okay, if I don't know, I have stopped blaming the pitchers also. Okay, it's not like that pitchers have become not better in the recent time, but it's not only here. I'm not talking about only here also. I've
Yeah.
seen players been struggling in the white ball format also and playing spin. Okay, player like Mitchell Satner, whose record has been mind blowing against India in white ball format also. Okay, if you look at his record, I've been seeing Mitchell Satner for a long period of time. Okay, against India, he's been quite economical in white ball format. Okay, if you look at his T20, once he played for New Zealand for against India in the T20 World Cup also, the record has been quite economical. And same goes in ODI also. So these guys have been struggling in ODI also. It's not like they've been hammering the spinners against in white ball format. That's a quite strange area for me also. Right? Why they have been struggling? Forget about the test matches also. They've been struggling to play even in the white ball format also. So that's a big concern for me. And the Sharma has made this clear statement that they will be. He's taken the blame on himself, which was quite nice. Obviously, he was the captain. He's taken the blame on himself. But if you look at the recent record of Indian team against his captain, I'm talking about only about the red ball format. India have been losing in probably if you look at the Virat Kohli Test captaincy record in his era in India itself, I'm not talking about the outside. Okay, in his era in India, he hasn't lost probably in his captaincy era. I think he has lost 2 or 3 matches in India max. I'm talking about max. Okay, and if you're talking about Rohit Sharma, I think he has already lost 4 or 5 or even 6 matches, and he has. It's not like he's been captaining the Test side for a longer period of time. So that's a big concern also. That his captaincy tactics in red ball format is quite questionable, and he also admits that in press conference. Go ahead, Lucas.
Yeah, you mentioned this isn't a once-off series. Let's go back a couple of years. Let's for the Red Bull. Before Australia played them in India, they had a test match against Bangladesh, leading up to
Yep.
the Australia game when they toured. I can remember that Kohli, Rohit Sharma did not score those runs. It was actually Shreyas Iyer,
Yes.
if you remember. He bailed out that team.
And I think
I
Aksa
think he
Patel
made
was also there. I think Aksa Patel
and
was
Axel
also there.
Patel. So it's been a while that these players like Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, they actually were very good players of spin. Don't forget these were great players of spin in the
Yep.
past. They would make hundreds of fun in their own conditions. Hundreds against South Africa when South Africa went there, they got blown away. Hundreds against Sri Lanka when they went there, against West Indies in the past when they've been there, they've made hundreds. But last 2-3 years since that Bangladesh test match where Patel and I bailed them out, it was actually Patel who made those runs against Australia, not Virat Kohli. I know
You're talking
Sharma made
about
that 100.
Bangladesh. You're talking about once India toured in Bangladesh, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
So yeah, that was the test series, and then 2 weeks later they played Australia in that 4 test series in India. Um, so it's been going on for a long time, and as I just said, Patel, he was absolutely amazing against Australia. So it wasn't Kohli, it wasn't um, Rohit Sharma, even though he made that 100 in that first test match. It wasn't them necessarily making runs; it was Patel doing all the damage. Um,
Yeah.
so these senior players that you mentioned, they've been struggling for spin for a long time now. As you mentioned, not just red
Yeah.
ball, but also white ball,
Yes.
T20 and ODI, which is really weird. But at the same time, let's go across to Australia. Steve Smith, David Warner have not found. Well, David Warner's now retired, but before David Warner retired, couldn't buy a run. Steve Smith, after his amazing English series in 2019, where he just blew England completely away, there was a while there where he didn't score a Test 100. I think it was almost a
Yes.
year.
I did remember that.
Um,
I did remember that.
and so he's been out of form for a very long time as well. Um, and then David Warner was out of form as well, and he got that tap on the shoulder. My point is that David Warner did get the tap on the shoulder. Steve Smith has not been warned, but he more or less knows that he needs to make runs or he'll get that tap on the shoulder. Now, I'm not saying that Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli need a tap on the shoulder. These are world-class players. These are the greats of the game. Virat Kohli's record speaks for itself. But let's look at Pakistan. Let's look at Babar Azam. He could not buy a test match run.
Yes.
I think it was like 10 innings where he couldn't even get past 50. Even
And that too,
Kohli
he was playing in their home backyard. Yes, same.
Yeah.
I think Virat Kohli was also struggling. Rohit Sharma was also struggling at their home backward. The biggest concern of this Indian team that they are struggling in their own backyard. That is the main area of concern, and they will be traveling abroad, and that's the main reason. And people have been questioning about their age also, because obviously once you are struggling at 25, nobody gonna question you. They will only talk about the talent, the potential you have. But once you cross 35, even if you don't make a run for 2 or 3 innings, people will start questioning about your age. People will ask to retire and all this. They will not question once the 25-year-old guy is struggling in this international era.
And it's pretty brutal when you get these legend players being dropped. Now look at Babar Azam. He's done so much for Pakistan cricket. He's been out of form. He got that tap on that shoulder. Now look at everyone complain. Look at the backlash that had.
But interestingly, Babar Azam after got dropped, Pakistan has went on to win the series. That's the most interesting thing. And this Pakistan team, I don't want to laugh at them. They haven't won the single match for the past 3 years at their home backyard. Single match you're talking about. And once Babar Azam was dropped, I think Shaheen Shah Afridi was also dropped on the same match, right?
Yeah.
And one more guy, I'm just forgetting his name. I don't know. 2 or 3 guy has been dropped on the same match, and Pakistan has went on to win the series after 2 or 3 years in the Test match after obviously after the embarrassing record in their home backyard.
Now, and that player that you mentioned was also Nasim Shah.
Yes, Nasim Shah,
who also got dropped. So that was very brutal. That was unexpected. Because Jason Gillespie, who's their coach, is very loyal. Jason Gillespie used to coach the Redbacks team in Adelaide. He was very loyal to his players, extremely loyal. And then they've just decided to drop their best players, and probably their best 2 players in the history of Pakistan cricket.
And Jason Gillespie hasn't had anything to do that, because Jason Gillespie was backing Babar Azam. It was the management. It was the new selector, I think. In Pakistan team, every day there is a new drama. Obviously, you know that there is a new selector, there is a new chairman in this Pakistan cricket board. So the new selector, I think his name was Akif Javed, and most probably I have seen cricket a lot of time for a lot of years, but I haven't seen an umpire has went to become a selector. Alim Dar, the international umpire, has become a selector of the Pakistan cricket team. They have made a decision to drop obviously Nasim Shah, Shaheen Shah Afridi, and Babar Azam, and they have managed. They had this one very clear thought that if you are an Asian side, what's your thought process to win a series in Asia? Obviously, you're gonna play the spinning condition. Why Pakistan was not winning the series in Pakistan? I'm talking about the red ball cricket, because the pitches. Even you also have discussed this on our podcast channel, that why is Pakistan not managed to win the match, even forget about the series, win the match in their own backyard, because the pitches has been nothing was going to happen on this pitches, because it was like a road. Okay, as we speak on our cricketing knowledge, it was like a road. Okay, but the new selector has made a decision, obviously, that if we need to win a match and we are as an Asian side, what's our best combination? Okay, we win a match in Asia, I'm talking about the test matches only, by the spinning track. So we need to make the spinning track, and once they made the decision, you can see the result.
Yeah, well, they bet England, didn't they? England crumbled. They capitulated. They dropped Babar Azam.
Yes.
Now
Yes,
People watching this, they're gonna think, well, what's this got to do with Rohit Sharma? Well, it's got everything to do with Rohit Sharma because number one, Pakistan made that brutal call of dropping Babar Azam. They made that brutal call of dropping Shaheen Afridi. They made that brutal call of dropping Nasim Shah. Now, do the Indian board need to do the same thing and say, you know what? We understand you're the legends of Indian cricket, especially Virat Kohli. No disrespect to Rohit Sharma, but Virat Kohli's got, he's done everything he can for that team for a long, long time, more than Rohit Sharma has, with all due respect. So, is it time the Indian board say, you know what? I'm sorry, but look what happened with Pakistan, and they just bet England. They bet Bazball at their own game. Maybe we need
but
to make
but
brutal
but
calls.
for India, but
Yeah,
for making a brutal call, India need to lose a series for 3 years in India itself. Then
yeah,
they will making a brutal call, because Pakistan was continuously losing
yeah,
the series. They couldn't win a single match for the past 2 or 3 years at their home. So that's why end of the day they have made a tough decision. Okay,
yeah,
for India, if you look at, I think you can. I'm not defending India because whitewashing at their home backward is not acceptable. But
yeah,
but you need to ask the question at the same point of time that they they need to play a domestic cricket once their matches is not going on, especially Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli I'm talking about, because they have been retired from the T20 format. So even if they are not playing an international cricket, once there is a T20 format is going on, once there is a T20 matches India is going to play, they need to find a moment to play some red ball format in the domestic cricket. That's the only
yeah,
concern. So we'll get
yeah,
back to the
yeah.
combination also. Yeah, Lucas, go ahead. You wanted to say
Yeah,
something.
and that's very like if anyone doesn't know, the Ranji Trophy is India's red ball domestic game. But a point you just made a very good point that these Indian players probably need to play more red ball. I would have had no problem. So India lost this; they were down 2-0. I would have had no problem if India said to Kohli, said to Rohit Sharma, you know what? Don't play the third test. Go to Australia and play in the India A game. Get some runs on the board. Now we know Australia A with their bowlers, they're actually very good bowlers. Scott Boland, we all know what Scott Boland does. Michael
Yes.
Nisa, you know what Michael Nisa does. Nathan McAndrew, who plays the Redbacks, he's been probably the best domestic bowler last 2 years. So they're not facing scrubs. They're not facing nobodies. They're facing high potent bowlers that have played cricket for Australia. And I think India have missed a trick by not sending these guys to play in this game. No problem with the first game because the series was alive. But I think when it was a dead rubber, probably not so much as the World Test Championship, but dead rubber, they can't win the series. I would have had no complaints if India board said, you know what, we're going to send Virat Kohli, we're going to send Rohit Sharma, Jaiswal to that Indian A game against very good world-class bowlers and see how they do. Get some kind of preparation.
But
And
Lucas,
two innings.
interestingly, I wouldn't have mind even if they wouldn't have wanted to go to the Australia to play a domestic, to play
Yeah,
a tour game. At the
yeah,
same point of time, there was Ranji Trophy happening, and Ranji
yeah,
Trophy is still happening. They would have
yeah,
gone and play one domestic matches. They would
yeah,
have it would have been a totally huge boost for them, because
yeah,
end of the day, your route, you should be very clear to your roots. If you are struggling, you need to start from the scratch. That's what my point
yeah.
is. If you're struggling to play spin, it's not any shame to play a domestic cricket and
No.
go back, score runs, and get back to the form and just play, because you guys are the senior player. Your position will not be obviously questionable. You guys, more often than not, you will be in the playing 11, so you can take off
Well,
some point of matches. Yeah, go ahead, Lucas.
yeah, I agree. Well, Steve, look at the Australian bowling cartel. They've gone back and played a game of Sheffield Shield. Steve Smith's gone back and played a game. Mitchell Starker's gone and played a game. Nathan Lyon's played 2 games of Sheffield Shield. Josh
Yes,
Hazelwood's
I
played a
did saw
Sheffield
that.
Shield game. Yeah, Travis Head. Alex Carey's made 200s returning to Sheffield Shield. 200s. So there is
I
absolutely
just need
the
to ask one
captain.
more thing. If you're talking about the Alex Carey thing, just need to ask one more thing. did Australia have moved on from Alex Carey in the white ball format?
For I think Alex Carey's moved on from white ball cricket more than what Cricket Australia has moved on from Alex Carey. I don't think Alex Carey.
Okay.
And hello to the Lionel Messi there. Not the real Lionel Messi, but hello.
Yes.
I am. Oh, okay. Ball's a Twitter personality. There we go. Now,
Okay, guys, whoever watching the show, do like and subscribe.
yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. So I don't think Alex Carey is interested in playing white ball cricket. Now he had the choice. He had the choice to play in this. Now if you look at this T20 series, now they're not in the T2, they're in the 50 over comp against Pakistan. The T20 series has nobody in it. Has absolutely no test players in that T2. They've all pulled out. Alex Carey was given an opportunity to play in that series. He said, no, I want to play more Sheffield Shield. Steve Smith was said, do you want to play in that T20 series against Pakistan? He said no. Same with Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, etc. There is no the test team that you'll see against India in the first test will not play a series against Pakistan in the T20. They've all pulled out. All pulled out.
Okay.
Because they said, we want to play more Shield cricket. We want to play more domestic cricket and prepare for this India tour as best as we can. Now,
is that the only reason, or you're talking about they are more serious to play the final and win the World Test Championship?
Listen,
because in near future, I think there is no T20 cricket tournament, right? There is no T20 World Cup in this year, right? So that's why they are more serious in playing red ball format.
I don't think that's an excuse, because if this was England, I think they'd do this. If this was an Ashes year, they'd do the same thing. I think it's because let's be honest, they've lost to India twice, well, 3 times in the last 5 years. 2 at home,
Finally.
1 in India. Yeah, that's 3 Test series losses in 5 years, and for some weird reason.
Do you remember the year? Do you remember the year the last time Australia won the series against India? I'm talking about red ball format.
I think it might have been in Australia 2016. I think that was. I think it was way back then, 2016, 2015.
I think Steve Smith and Virat Kohli made a hell lot of runs, right? We're talking about that.
David Warner made 100 in Adelaide, if I'm not mistaken, because I was there. So yeah, I think they won that pretty comfortably. I think that was a 3-0 whitewash back then when they only played 3 games. Now they're playing 5 Test series.
No. It wasn't a whitewash. I think it was 2-0. I think it was MS Dhoni also last series, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
One of the 2 matches got draw.
Yeah, a draw. Yeah.
2 matches got draw. I think it was. Yes, I think Virat Kohli also did captain the first match and probably the last. I can't remember that, but yeah, 2 matches got draw, 2 matches got Australia won. Yes, and MS Dhoni played the last series there as a Test captain.
Back to your point of why they're not playing this white ball series. When it comes to Australia and their players, they say a lot of crap about, the word is sledging. They like to sledge, as you know.
Okay. Yes.
And yeah, they like to.
That is in their genes, right?
Yeah. Especially Ashes year, they like to talk crap. Players come out and say the most silliest of things. Literally, they back it up because England are terrible in Australia. This year, there has been no such talk by anyone. There's been no, well, he's been out of form. Oh, well, we have a good record against this team. There's been none of that. There's been no talk of arrogancy in the press. They're serious this time. And I think pulling out of these T20 series, these Test players pulling out of the T20 series, I think it's because they want to prepare as best they can. They feel T20 is not the best preparation to beat India. They believe playing Sheffield Shield cricket, the red ball competition, is the best way to beat India. Now, in case you're wondering, the only comment that has been made was by Pat Cummins, where he said, I hope we see a lot more green on the pitches, which means green tops. Now, Sheffield Shield gap, that's the only thing I've heard anyone say. So he wasn't even talking about India. All he said was, "I hope there's more green on the pitch than previous series, where the previous series were hard and flat, and they favoured India more than they did Australia." So this time in the Sheffield Shield,
But
pureed,
if you're talking about the pitches, I think Australian pitches have been like that, right?
yeah,
They don't make
they
a green top in their home
yeah
backyard.
the last couple of years they have been making green tops. Now I don't know if you remember that one against South Africa where it
Okay.
ended in 2 days. Yeah, that was
Yes.
a really
You're talking about, I think Philander and Rabada bundled out Australia, right? If I remember, yeah.
yeah cut that yeah, and then 2 years ago where Warner made that double hundred against South Africa, he's kind of insurance to get to the Ashes because he was out of form. He had to make runs in that series. And he got to the Ashes, did well, then
Yes.
got his farewell. So that pitch at the Gabba was a green top where it ended in 2 days.
Yeah.
So, and then the Pakistan Test match up in Perth, that was a green top. So they've been going to green tops for more couple of years recently. More in this last couple of years, green tops in some states, not all, some. Now the Sheffield Shield matches that have been played, the last 2 rounds have been heavily green tops. And from what I've noticed,
So we can expect a green
yeah,
top in Border Gavaskar Trophy, right?
I think you will see I think you'll see 2 or 3. I think there's been a clear message sent that they want bowling friendly conditions.
Okay.
And what I've seen in the Sheffield Shield, because they are back playing. I don't know if this happens in India, but state teams actually play on international grounds. So the Redbacks play at Adelaide Oval, Victoria play at the MCG, New South Wales, Sydney Cricket Ground, Tasmania, etc., etc. So they all play on their state grounds. There's occasional where they might go up to suburban areas, but they still mainly play at their home grounds. So the one at Adelaide Oval last week against Victoria, that was a green top. The one against Tasmania hosted at Bellweave Oval, that was a complete green top. WA hosted one. They hosted, I don't know if you remember this, they hosted one last week in an ODI game. They got rolled out for 50. They lost 8 for 2. So I think they were 1 for 54, and they only made
Yeah,
58.
I did heard this news about some team in Australia. Obviously, they got bundled out for 50 or 60, right? I
Yeah,
think I heard this news
yeah,
in Twitter. I see that news in Twitter
yeah.
itself. Yes,
That
I did saw
that
that.
was also a green top for an ODI, and incidentally that was played in Perth.
So Australia
So
will also
yeah,
be very happy that they are not able to see this Cheteshwar Pujara this time.
well it's well that it seems that's what they want. They want bowling friendly conditions. So
Okay.
which is weird because as you mentioned, the last 7-8 years for the history of pitches in Australia, they're bouncy, they're hard and bouncy.
Yep.
But the last couple of years have gone away from that. They want more green on their pitches. I think the first test, which is in Perth, I think you're going to see a green top pitch. There's no. I'd be absolutely shocked if you didn't see it. And then there's one in Brisbane, which I believe there'll also be a green top. The one in Adelaide probably will be a green top. The MCG, probably not. That's more of a traditional hard wicket, as we all know with MCG. And Sydney Cricket Ground is probably a
Yes.
traditional hard top. So I think they're probably be the only 2 which won't be green top pitches, is Sydney and Melbourne. And it seems to me that Cricket Australia are comfortable. They want to go in this direction. And I think they also want to go down that direction in the Ashes. They want green top pitches in the Ashes because we're going to see England on green top pitches in New Zealand coming up later in the month. Not to dwell on that series, that's for another show. So the point is they want green top pitches against this Indian series. And we know Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, even Jaiswal had a bad series. Now, this is a key
Yes.
point. The pitches against Bangladesh and against New Zealand, except the third test, these were more seam-friendly conditions. They were more seam-friendly. We saw in the first test against New Zealand where it was seaming all over the place. which is very rare in that stadium. That hardly ever happens in that stadium. So I reckon that was probably a deliberate ploy by the BCCI to say, you know what, if they're going to roll out green tops pitches for us, well, let's get used to swing seam bowling. And I think players like Jaiswal has been, I don't want to say exposed because that de-ranks him, but he's been found out. Yeah, he did not have the best series against Bangladesh. He did not have the best series against New Zealand because of seaming conditions.
But if you're looking at the Yashasvi Jaiswal, before you answer this question, I think Yashasvi Jaiswal has a very good year. If you're talking about only test matches, he hasn't made a debut in ODI yet. He had a very terrific year as a test player. So you can obviously not point him out as much as Rohit, Virat, and other guys have been struggling. But Jaiswal has scored around over 1200 in this year. I think uh, if you look at this year, okay, and who has scored a lot of runs, I think Joe Root is the number one, okay, and it's in the second you will find Yashasvi Jaiswal. So I think there is not a concern for Yashasvi Jaiswal for any player. They will go through one bad series, but other than that, I think if you look at the plus point also, Rishabh Pant was biggest plus point on that New Zealand series
Yeah.
because he has been coming out through the lot of things. Okay, he had an accident. Okay, he was out for the game for the 1.5 year. Okay, after that he came and he batted like what Rishabh Pant bats. Right, he has been he has been quite remarkable in that series, and that was the only plus point. And even if you look at the bowling, and if you're looking at the total combination, we will get back to the combination also. But before you make this question, because Messi has asked this question, how do Aussie ground differ in flatness and favorability and assistant? Yes.
Well, Australian pitches are, apart from the MCG, because there was a point out there that time that pitch was just, you might as well have got it from a Pakistan road, that MCG pitch, and they've now changed it. Like every ground has its own favorability and assistance. The Wackers are very different. Wacker's not being used in this series, which is disappointing. I thought, in case you're wondering, the Wacker, which is in Perth, that's under redevelopment, and I thought that would be done for this series, but it looks like it'll be ready for the Ashes. Traditionally, the Wacker pitch is a bouncy pitch. It's quick. It's one of the quickest pitches in world cricket.
In world cricket, correctly agree.
Yeah, if you score 100 on that pitch, you're a very, very special player. I think Virat Kohli did. I think
They
Ben
scored
Stokes
100,
also,
right?
yeah, Ben Stokes also scored
Yes,
100.
Ben Stokes also
pitch,
scored.
yeah,
Yes.
early in his career. So that's one extreme. You go to another extreme in Tasmania, where it's all green tops. It's bowling friendly. It's a green top Tasmania, Bellerive Oval, all green tops. That's why Tasmania do so well, because they play on green tops. They've got a player in the Australian A squad called Bo Webster, who I believe should be in this test team. It's been far too long, and he's been okay in these India A tours because he's used to green top pitches in Tasmania. So Tasmania has green top. The Perth Wacker, one of the fastest pitches in world cricket. The Perth Stadium that they use the same soil as they do in the Wacker, but we know it's not as quick, nowhere near as quick as the Wacker. Adelaide Oval, I think Adelaide Oval is such a tremendous place to bat, especially on day 2, day 3.
Yes.
And then
yes.
it's got a lot of history, the Adelaide Oval. A lot of famous test matches have played at that ground. I remember Amazing Adelaide in the 2005 Ashes series, where a result looked imminent, a draw, and then we know what happened that day with Shane Warne and that. So I think that's one of the best places to play. Brisbane, very bouncy pitch, very bouncy. Not so much as quick, but bouncy, almost like a South African pitch.
You're talking about the same Brisbane Gava pitch, right? Brisbane and Gava still remains the same, right? The names remains the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a bit like a South African pitch, a lot of bounce. But we saw when South Africa came here 2 years ago, a little bit more green. They've gone a little bit more green top, and of course against Pakistan as well. So maybe green top here again. But what I will know, whether it's a green top or not, it would be very bouncy. Sydney, um, literally, it's probably the only place in Australia where you play two spinners or can think about playing two
Yes,
spinners.
that's what
Um,
that's what I was
yeah,
coming to you. I think Sydney is the only pitch where a spinner
yeah,
gets a bounce and gets a turn also.
yeah. We here's a little fun fact. There's only two pitches in Australia that are true pitches. The rest are drop-ins from other grounds. Um, one is Brisbane. So when the football season comes on, they cover the pitch with grass and whatnot, and they dig it up. And the other it actually used to be Adelaide, but they stopped that. And also Sydney. So it's funny. Sydney and Brisbane are the only two true pitches left. The rest are drop-ins. Two different complete pitches. As I said, one's a more spin-friendly pitch, and the other one's a very bouncy pitch. And the rest are Melbourne, Adelaide, Tasmania. They're all drop-in pitches, except the Wacker. Wacker was a true pitch, but this new Perth Stadium, football's played on that ground. They get it from another local ground. So it's probably the best place where it comes to different pitches, because every state's going to give you a different thing. Melbourne's going to be flat, but they've gone away from that. That's more bowling friendly conditions now. So I think it's the best country to play cricket in. If you're a bat or bowler, I think it's the most even, apart from South Africa. I think it's the most even between bat and ball in Australia than compared to anywhere else in the world. The ball, Leo Messi said they're loving this content. The two underrated and deserve more subscribers. When is the next live stream coming? As I said to Gorvi, who's very happy to hear this, the Australian
Yes.
Pakistan white ball series after the end of the third match next week. I will do a review.
And
straight
whoever
after
is
the
watching,
game.
do like. Yes, and whoever is watching, do like and subscribe. We need your loves, and we'll get back to the our main thing. Obviously, we were discussing about the playing 11s and the combination and the recent form of the test playing team of Indian team. Okay, so what's the team? What will be the playing 11 according to you, Lucas? Then I will get back
For,
to the players form also.
for India,
Let me
yes.
come first. Let me come first. Let me come first
Yeah,
about
go
the
for it.
form, recent form. Rohit Sharma form is not there, obviously.
Yeah,
Jasprit Bumrah played only two test matches and he was also not up to the mark, but I can expect Jasprit will be fired up. Okay. He's the vice
yeah,
captain also. Yashasvi Jaiswal will be okay. I think his form is there. He scored a lot of runs in this year. And Shubman Gill has been making comeback. He's been playing at number 3. I hope you remember this. He has tell this management team that I want to bat at number 3. Okay, he has been, his average is not up to the test mark. Okay, but if you look at the 3 or 4 series, his performances is good in the number 3 position. Virat Kohli form is also questionable. Look, KL Rahul. Okay, I don't want to ask a lot. I don't want to say a lot of things about KL Rahul, but his performance has been going downhill. His batting position is also sometimes have been questionable. Rishabh Pant has been back to the form. Sarfraz Khan scored 100, then scored a two. He doesn't scored a two. Doesn't scored a runs in 2 test matches. Dhruv Jurel, I don't think he will be playing, but he has been also in a quite good touch. Ravi Chandra Ashwin, quite a shocking series that was in New Zealand. Once he played in New Zealand series, you don't often see that Ravi Chandra Ashwin has a disaster series that too in India. Okay, so his form is also quite questionable. Ravindra Jadeja, he was on an average. He picked up some wicket. Suddenly, if you look at the fast bowler, I don't know. Suddenly, what if you have seen Mohammad Siraj once he has arrived in Australia? He was some kind of a bowler,
yeah.
right? He was fiery. He was bowling at quick pace, but suddenly I don't know what has happened to him. Also, his form is also questionable. Akshadeep is good. Prasidh Krishna, this guy, look, once Prasidh Krishna has arrived in this Indian team, I think talking about 3 or 4 years back, Indian team management has decided that we need to say goodbye to Ishant Sharma. Okay, just because of this guy, Prasidh Krishna. And Prasidh Krishna has been out of this team. It's not about only about I'm talking about the form. No, he hasn't played a lot of test matches. He has been out of the team just because of injury, and suddenly he has just arrived in this Indian team again. He hasn't played a lot of test matches. He's played a white ball format for Indian team where he performed. He leaked runs also in the white ball format, but he's a proper bowler in the test matches. Okay, but for me, Prasidh Krishna, I will back him to play the first test match. I don't know about other guys, but he was the guy where where Indian team backed him and tell Ishant Sharma that you are not obviously in frame of things for our future projects. So Ishant Sharma was suddenly nowhere in this Indian team. Harshit Rana is obviously, I don't know much about him, but he was a good prospect to the Kolkata Knight Riders team. He played very good to the winning team of the Kolkata Knight Riders, where they managed to win the IPL also. He had a very good slow ball. I haven't seen Harshit Rana in red ball format, so I don't know about him. Nitish Reddy, yes. For Nitish Kumar Reddy, people are backing him as a batsman also, where he gonna bat at number 7 most probably, and he will bowl some overs also. He's a proper all-rounder. Again, he's a good candidate for an all-rounder. I don't know what has happened to Shardul Thakur. Suddenly, has he gone through the injury? But I don't know about him. Washington Sundar, I think people are going to see him from my point of view. This is what my point of view is. Washington Sundar will be the only spinner because he bats also well and he has performed well in the recent series against New Zealand. So this is what my point of view against. I'm not shared about this playing 11, just shared about this form, current Indian form. So what will be your playing 11, Lucas? Then I will share my playing 11 to you. And if you have,
Well,
if you need to ask, you can ask anything to me.
it depends on Rohit Sharma. Now, if Rohit Sharma, I got one for you. This is a good one. If Rohit Sharma isn't playing, now Jarrell has playing making runs in that India A game. Made an 80 yesterday. He's currently not out overnight. If he makes another 50 or 60, here's one for you. If Rohit Sharma's not playing, I'll open with him alongside with Josawal.
So you are telling me that you will be making an opener of Dhruv Jurel, right?
I would for that if Sharma's, because Sharma's got family, his wife and all that.
Correct.
I would see he was pretty good against Australia in that recent when India went there, and he was that wicket keeper.
Fair enough.
I thought his keeping was absolutely incredible. He's probably the best keeper in the team.
But Lucas, if you, I don't want to interrupt you, Lucas, I don't want to interrupt you, but Rishabh Pant will be the number 1 choice for a wicket-keeper batsman, right? And you are saying Dhruv need to bat as an opener, right? Dhruv has been picked as a wicket-keeper batsman, backup wicket-keeper batsman. And Abhimanyu Ishwaran, who has scored a lot of runs in the domestic matches, and he has been picked as a backup opener. And you're saying that that's your point of view. I completely get it. But Indian management will not look at this option of Dhruv Jurel to making him as an opener. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if he's making runs in the India A game against bowlers like Scott Boland, Michael Neser, McSweeney, who's probably the next in line. So not McSweeney, McAndrew. McAndrew's the next bowler in line after Neser, Boland, and all that, the best domestic bowler. You got to think, well, okay, he's on form. He's our best batsman on form wise. Now he was keeping in that second Test match against New Zealand because Rishabh Pant injured himself, which is okay. He'll play in the first Test. He played in the third Test as well. So if you're going to score those runs against those bowlers, that's hard to leave out. And if Rohit Sharma is not going to be available in the first Test, you're immediately going to reward the best player out of that 11 that's making runs, and that's Jarrell. Now, that could all change. He could come out tomorrow, first ball, and get out. That could all change. But from what I've seen, he made 80 in that first innings. He could do it again. He could make another 50. That's very hard to leave out. And if Rohit Sharma does play and just misses one Test, it's a Band-Aid option. And he would be the good Band-Aid option. He's making runs. He's making runs against good bowlers. So why not bring him in? So that's where I'm coming from with that. Now I agree with you with the spin department. I don't think they'll play Ashwin. I think Washington will probably play in the first test. I can see that.
Yep.
Now, if
And
it's going to be a
and
green
yeah,
top, I
and
don't. Yeah,
one more thing, yes, one more thing. I don't think they will back Ravindra Jadeja also because more often than not, once India travel outside, they play Sena contest. More often than not, it's Ashwin who sit backs and Ravindra Jadeja who plays. But going on with the recent forms, okay,
yeah,
I think Washington Sundar with the batting ability he had because Ravindra Jadeja is also playing. Ravindra Jadeja was also playing outside India just because he
yeah,
has this batting ability to score
yeah,
some runs in the lower middle order. But
yeah,
he hasn't scored a lot of runs also in the recent times, and he hasn't taken a lot of wickets also. And once India travel outside, the more often than not, they strengthen their batting. And I think I may be wrong. Okay, I think they will back Washington Sundar in the playing 11, and they will start with Washington Sundar. And in the middle of the series, maybe they go with
yeah.
Jadeja if the series doesn't work out. So if you ask me, I will back Washington Sundar and the playing 11. Okay, because I'm not saying Indian management because the recent past past record which Indian team had, they don't back Ravi Ashwin as much on the outside once they play
Yeah,
outside India. Okay,
yeah,
so I will back Washington Sundar on the playing 11. And if Rohit Sharma is not playing in the team, I will back I want to play Abhimanyu and I want to see because this guy has been knocking the door for a longer period of time in the domestic cricket. If you look at his Lister record, if you look at his Ranji Trophy record, if you look at his red ball record, it's been quite remarkable. And I want to see him Abhimanyu and what he can do on the big stages. And I don't think people in the recent 2 or 3 days, people have been obviously saying that KL Rahul will come back to open again. I don't want to. I'm not saying KL Rahul will back to the open again because Indian management is very clear that they want to see him as a middle order batsman, and I like KL Rahul as a middle order batsman to be very frank. Okay, but if you look, I want to go with Abhimanyu Ishwaran. Yashasvi Jaiswal will be the second open, will be the obviously permanent opener. Second is Abhimanyu Ishwaran. Third will be obviously Shubman Gill. Fourth will be Virat Kohli. Fifth is obviously with the recent times, which Indian batting order going by in the New Zealand series, Rishabh Pant will bat at 5. Look, the 6 is quite strange area. Will you play Sarfaraz Khan or will you play KL Rahul? Or will you play somebody like Nitesh Kumar Reddy, who is a proper all-rounder?
Well, if you're going,
What
as
I
I said, if
gonna
you're going on, if you're going to go on form rise, then like I said, it's got to be Giroud because he's making runs. He's making runs on green top pitches like we just saw.
so you
So
will play him as a proper batsman?
yeah, from
Okay,
what we've seen so far. Now, like I said, he could come out tomorrow and get out first ball.
okay.
But
So for you,
you
Dhruv
have
Jural
yeah,
is your number 6, right?
yeah. So
Okay.
and
So
then for the record,
my 6. Yeah,
for
go ahead.
it, I'll just put this out there for the record. I don't think Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma should be playing this series at all. Now
Okay.
let's
That's not going to happen, by the
let
way.
no, but let's say this. Let's say they play this series, right? And they don't
Yep.
make any runs. They've got a 5-test series against England. They don't play at home. They go straight to a 5-test
Yeah.
series in England. Now, do you really want to end Kohli and Rohit Sharma's career in England? With all due respect, that would
With
be
all,
very terrible.
it's not about with all due respect to Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. It's about what team management think, and team management will see what are these two series going to happen. If they will see, they will take a back seat and they will watch the Border Gavaskar Trophy and they will see what these guys gonna do in England also. If these guys don't score run in Border Gavaskar Trophy or even in the what do you call it in England series, then management will start questioning and will have a word with Rohit Sharma first because he's the captain and his test match captaincy has been questionable in recent times. So we'll see that point of time. But for what logically wise, if you ask me, they will gonna continue playing this Border Gavaskar trophy and they will gonna play obviously this England series also. So let's come back to the our main thing was because the show is getting longer and longer. I know it's going interesting also, but let's come back to the squad again. I want to pick Sarfaraz Khan at playing at number 6 because this I know he has struggled in India also, but after making 100, he got out cheaply on the last two matches on whatever the matches left it was. But probably I'm just backing Sarfaraz Khan because once I've seen his technique, he's probably a back foot kind of a player, right? He doesn't come forward.
Yeah.
He's more often than not is a back foot kind of a player. And this kind of a player where pitches are bouncy, these guys will gonna score runs in Australia. You need this kind of a player, right? I know Josh, a player like I know bowler like Josh Hazelwood and Pat Cummins gonna find out very easily that once Sarfaraz Khan comes, you need to bowl full. You need to make him drive. But I will back Sarfaraz Khan for one or two test match, and after that, if he's not scoring runs, then I will get back to KL Rahul again. Okay, so that will be my sixth position. I will not play Dhruv Jural, by the way. Okay, because for me, if you are a proper wicket-keeper batsman, I will find very strange that what is his fielding style, whether he's a good fielder or not. I know he's taken us some blinder in IPL matches, but for test matches, I'm not quite sure. Okay, so I will play Sarfaraz Khan for the first two test matches, playing at number 6. Number 7 will be my Washington Sundar. Okay, and the rest four bowlers will be that's quite strange. The four bowlers which will be obvious is obviously Jasprit Bumrah, Prasidh Krishna, and rest two bowlers I will be picking Mohammad Siraj. Yes, I think tail is getting longer. So what I will do, I will add one more batsman as a proper all-rounder, that is for Nitish Kumar Reddy. I will be playing with 3 proper genuine quicks and 2 batting all-rounder. That is called Mohammad Sera. Sorry, that is called uh, Nitish Kumar Reddy, and one will be Washington Sundar. So that will be my playing 11. So what will be yours, Lucas? So what's your combination? What will be your combination? What's your thinking before you goes abroad? Will you strengthen your bowling or you want some batting depth in your team? So you need to start with whom you're going to open if Rohit Sharma is not there in the first test match.
So that was what I said earlier. Is Giroud? I would seriously open with him alongside Joseph Rule.
Okay.
Number 3, I would without a doubt have Shubman Gill.
Yes, he's the number 3 batsman.
Yeah, 4 obviously Kohli. 5 obviously Richard Punt. No question about that. 6 probably Sarfaraz Khan. 7 I wouldn't go with Ashwin or Jadeja. I would go with Washington. And
Yes.
then the 8, 9, 10. If they're going to make green tops, you need at least 4 and 1. So when I've been by 4 and 1, 4 paces and a spinner, just in case. You want to mix up
4 and
something.
1 you are talking about. You are talking about 4 and 1. You are talking about 1 spinner. So that's you're adding Washington Sundar. And are you talking about 4 genuine quick bowlers, or will you be fine with 3 genuine quick bowlers and 1 proper bowling all-rounder? I'm talking about a quick all-rounder. I'm bowling about player like Nitish Kumar Reddy, who genuinely bowls quick and who's giving you the batting depth also. So what will be your position?
Obviously, Jasper and Siraj. From what I've seen, you got to award Deep. He was fantastic against New Zealand and against Bangladesh.
Okay.
So there's your main 3. All right. So then now you've got to find somewhere else. Okay. So do you go back to an all-rounder who can help a little bit with the batting, or do you go with a genuine backup bowler like Krishna? For me, on these pitches, if they are going to make green top pitches, you need as most runs as you can get. So you'd probably get the all rounder in.
So you need batting depth. Yes, Nitish Kumar Reddy.
But on just like on ranked turners, you need batting depth. It would be like look at Patel. Patel would be very interesting if he was available. Probably would be.
But I don't think probably I don't think Akshar Patel Indian team doesn't consider him playing outside, because I was also quite shocked once he wasn't playing in Indian condition. So even though they are not, he was never in the squad outside India.
No, even when they brought in Washington, I thought, well, they got to bring in Patel surely, and they didn't do that. So it seems to me he's out of favour for whatever reason, because he was amazing against Australia.
And he's out of this favour only in red ball format. Currently, if you look at the white ball format, more often than not, he will play the white ball format in Test matches and even in the T20 format. I'm talking about ODI and T20 matches.
Absolutely, and so it's weird, because in that series against Australia, he wasn't the man of the series, but geez, he could have been. Fantastic with the bat, fantastic with the ball. But anyway, so I think with these cases, you've got to add batting depth, especially like if you're on a ranked turner.
So you will be playing. So you will be playing. You will be playing both Washington Sundar and Nitish Kumar Reddy as a batting depth and as a batting all rounder, right?
Yeah, because you need a spinner. You need, whether he's a part timer. Washington is not a part timer from what we've seen.
Yeah. Yes.
So you need a spinner just in case it doesn't work out. Like with ranked turners, you can't just pick 5 spinners. Yes. You have to pick at least one baseman, just in case.
Yep.
Reverse swing, blah blah blah, and all that. Just in case the spinner does get some kind of movement or bounce. So the spinner is needed. And then your 3 main quick bowlers, and then a all-rounder that can bowl medium paces, or in his case, you said he's a bit quicker than that.
Yes.
And then who can bat down. The real batsman that they'll miss is Pujara, because he's a grinder. I look at this Indian batting team. I don't see a grinder in this team. I don't see a batsman that can score 100 off 300 balls. I don't see that. They're all flamboyant. They all like bat on ball. Shubman Gill likes bat on ball. Sarfaraz Khan likes bat on ball. He's a bit of a heavy striker. I think they'll miss that, especially someone against Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark. So that's going to play a huge effect. The grinder. Whether you don't have to have someone scoring hundreds, but if someone can be there for 200, 300 balls, that goes a long way in winning a series in Australia. Like let's look at the last 3 was the 3 teams that have beaten Australia in Australia. India and India. That's it. And Pujara has been their wall. Be like
Pujara has played yes. Pujara has played a lot of balls in all the series which India have won.
And we saw it in the Sydney Test. So the Gabba Test, when they won that historic Gabba won the series. Patrick Cummins, Mitchell Stark, and Hazel, they were all out of steam. They had nothing left in the tank. They were too tired. They couldn't bowl at efficiency. They were very poor in that test, especially on that last day. Very poor, because
and Pujara made him tired.
By Pujara. Yeah. So
yes,
I don't see a grinder in the Indian team. I don't see someone that can survive for 300 balls. I don't see that.
Yeah, I also don't see it.
So their tactics are going to be different when it comes to batting, because all their batters, probably Jarrell, who I mentioned, is probably the only one that will play traditional innings. Kohli likes bat on ball. Sarfaraz Khan likes bat on ball. Shubman Gill likes bat on ball. Even Jaiswal likes bat on ball. He likes to go at a good strike rate. Jadeja, and Ashwin, they like to go at good strike rates. So there's not one guy in there that can hold in innings, and that can be a little concerning, especially if you've lost quick wickets. So let's say you're 5 overs in, and India have already lost two wickets. who's going to stabilise the innings? That's what they don't have, a stabiliser. So that's going to be a huge blow. KL Rahul maybe can play that traditional way, but he's out of form.
Yeah.
He's horribly out of form. So you're not going to trust him to survive 100 balls or 200 balls at his form. So I actually thought they'd probably bring another specialist from the Ranji that can play that way, but they haven't. I'm not familiar with the Ranji Trophy. I'm familiar with it, but I'm not familiar with what players are in there.
Every players you are talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, I did understand that.
So I thought, coming into this series, I thought they'd pick someone from Ranji that's a bit like a grinder that can grind
if you're talking about,
attacks.
but if you're talking about Pujara also, and if you're comparing him with other, I don't find any player. Not talking about only in India. I'm talking about everywhere. So you won't find Pujara every time, right? The cricket has moved on. Obviously, people like to play with 100 strike rate and the baseball thing and all, whatever the thing has arrived in cricket. But the days are gone by where you find players like Pujara, player like Dravid, where they make bowlers tired and scored a lot of runs after that.
Now, in contrast to Australia, they've got a couple of slow batsmen. Karaja, historically very slow. He can be a grinder. He was a grinder in the Ashes series in England.
But he's very good at playing a spin. But I understand with playing fast, he take a lot of balls. But once he started playing spin, he no more often than not he attacks. He's been very good at playing spin. He attacks more. He plays reverse sweep. He plays normal sweeps, and he has been a very good. He will not be like once fast bowler is bowling to him, he will take a lot of time. But once a spinner is bowling to him, he's just gonna score a lot of runs quickly.
Marnus Labuschagne's the same one. Now Marnus Labuschagne likes to act like he's Steve Smith and leave the ball at funny rates, but he goes pretty slowly as well, very slowly. Steve Smith, last couple of years, he's also gone a bit slowly. He's gone away from that bat and ball thing. Travis Head is their ultimate attacker. Alex Carey is their ultimate attacker. Mitch Marsh is their ultimate attacker. Cameron Green's also very slow.
Just one more question I need to ask about this. Once Australia team will be announced, we will have a more further discussion about the Australian squad also. But is this right that we have been hearing this that Travis Head will be opening for Australia in Test matches also?
Okay, right. So leading into the series before the Shield started 4 weeks ago, a month ago, before round one, Smith before round one says, I don't want to open anymore. There's a lot of reasons why. One reason was because I didn't want to wait so long. There were other reasons because Marnus Labuschagne and Karaja wanted to be protected, which didn't make sense because Karaja's an opener. Labuschagne's at 3. So that didn't make sense. So before the series, that was the end of that discussion. Smith will be 4. So there was rumors where, okay, well, who are you going to have at opening? Because they wanted, for some weird reason, Australia, they want to keep the same team. I've been heavily against this from day one. But they want to keep Mitch Marsh and Cameron Green for God knows why in this team. So we have to pick someone inside the team that can open. So Mitch Marsh was a candidate. Cameron Green was a candidate. Travis Head was not considered. Mitchell Marsh came out and said, I'm not going to open. Cameron Green came out and said, well, I'm not going to open. Okay. Marnus, do you want to open? Marnus was like, well, no, didn't really give an answer. And then Head has experience at opening in Test match cricket. He opened in the Indian series in the 5th Test match a couple of years ago. He made that brilliant 90 actually opening. Unlucky not to get that 100. So everyone's thought, well, he has some experience. So why not Travis Head? Now, round one of the Sheffield Shield starts, Cameron Green is out. He's out. He's got a stress factor. He will miss the Indian series. He could possibly miss the Sri Lankan series. And he could possibly miss the Ashes next year, depending how severe that back is, because it's a serious issue.
You're talking about Travis Head.
They've said, yeah. So now they've said, well, gee, they've gone, well, gee, who's going to open? Now, this kid called Sam Constas has made 100 in his first Shield game at 19 years of age. And everyone's gone, wow, okay, whoa. Now, he's been added to the Australian A games, which is usually an indicator that if you make runs in those games, you'll be playing for Australia. He's failed. He's failed in both games, both innings. So 4 innings against India's bowling, he's failed. And then we've gone to a dilemma where there's a young guy called Nathan McSweeney, who's not an opener. He plays in Sheffield Shield, Madarali Red Bull cricket for the Redbacks. He is not an opener. He's not even a number 3. He's a number 4. His biggest strength is when he's not a new ball specialist. He's an old ball. He likes bat on ball. And we saw when he did play in the A game, he made runs. But the first innings, he was very, very slow, extremely slow, because he's not a new ball player. Now, he's failed in this in this game between India A and the first innings, failed because he's not used to the new ball. Now, who's left available? Cameron Bancroft, Marcus Harris. I've actually got this right here. I've got this right here. This is Cameron Bancroft's last 10 innings in red ball cricket. So that's Sheffield Shield for WA. Listen to this. Last 10 innings. 0.
And just to interrupt you, I think if I'm not wrong, Cameron Bancroft is also been playing in county cricket, right?
Yes. Yeah. He played in county cricket in the winter a couple of months ago, and he came over to the Sheffield Shield. So he was a candidate along with Harris. So his scores are 0 and 0. So first game back for Sheffield Shield, he made a 0 pair. Second game, 4-7. Third game, this is the India A game, 0-3. So that's 5 innings where he couldn't even get past 10. So he's out. He's gone. He's completely gone. Marcus Harris has been making these. First game, Marcus Harris made 100. Now, everyone's saying Marcus Harris is a good player, but when it comes to international level, he's had problems. He's had problems against Jasprit Bumrah.
Not been up to the mark in international.
Jasprit Bumrah's owned him in their last series. Now, Mitchell Starc. Now, he played in the second round of the Shield. Mitchell Starc played in that game. Guess which bowler got out Marcus Harris twice? Mitchell Starc. Yeah, Mitchell Starc. And then the conversations came in again. Well, he can't play against quality attacks. He's one of those players where he can beat up anybody in the Shield, but when it comes to quality bowling, he can't handle it. Now, in the India A game, he's the only one that's made runs yesterday. He made that 80. So he made that 50. So he's the only one that's made runs. So now the conversation says, all right, Marcus Harris. If you ask me who's going to be the opener, it'll be Marcus Harris. And if I'm Jasprit Bumrah, knowing that Marcus Harris is going to play in that first test, I'm absolutely licking my chops and I'm praying I get that first, which he will. He'll get first ball. And I'm just targeting Marcus Harris's pads with in-swingers, like he did the last series. Just targeting those pads. So that's the dilemma that Cricket Australia have. Do we go with Marcus Harris? I think it's down to 3 players. Yeah.
Yeah, with 3 players.
It's down to 3 players. It's down to Marcus Harris. It's down to Nathan McSweeney, who's not an opener, he's a number 4, and it's down to Sam Constas, the 19-year-old. Now,
Cameron Bancroft is out of the Bancroft is out of this scenario, right?
I can guarantee you, he will not. I don't think he'll ever play for Australia again. I don't think he'll ever play for them again. There's a left field option you may like, Josh Inglis. Now, a bit like
the
Alex
wicketkeeper
Carey,
batsman.
He's made 300s in the Shield already this season. Now he's captaining the White Ball series. There was talk that saying, well, do we need a Band-Aid replacement or we need someone that's fixed? Now, Sam Constas is a fixed option. Marcus Harris is a Band-Aid. Cameron Bancroft is a fixed option, but he's gone. Inglis is a band-aid option. He's there, probably there for, if he did open, probably there 3-4 tests, see how he goes. And then they've got an important test series against Sri Lanka after India. They go to Sri Lanka in February. They play 2 test matches. So they say to this 19-year-old, we're going to give you 7 test matches. That's Sam Consis. So you're going to play 5 against India. You're going to play 2 against Sri Lanka at 19 years of age. Now, this is very important. Between the Sri Lanka test match and November, Australia do not play one single test. They don't play any test matches, just like this year. This is. I'll give you my tips in a minute, but I feared that India will win the first test. Now I've changed that again after the New Zealand series because India have looked horrible. But before the New Zealand series, I thought, you know what, I think India are going to win the first test because Australia haven't played a test match since February. Yeah, okay. Mitchell Starc, Hazelwood, Cummins have played domestic cricket. Steve Smith's they've all played domestic cricket. Okay, that's fine. But I still thought, you know what, India, they're playing a lot of test matches. They just, between India's last test and this test match coming up, there's only 28 days. That's not a long time. Australia haven't played a test match since March against New Zealand. That was in New Zealand. That was a green top. So they haven't played test match cricket for a long time. Same next year. When they go to Sri Lanka, they won't play a test match until the Ashes. And England have got India for 5 test matches, and they go to, I think they've got a series against Sri Lanka. And that's I think that's a 3 or 4 test series, or probably 3 because it's Sri Lanka. And then they're going to West Indies. So they're going to play 15 test matches in between Australia playing Sri Lanka, then playing in the Ashes. So this is why I thought India will win the first test match. So
okay.
I think you got to. I like to go with Sam Constas. Okay, he's failed, but I would say to him, look, you've got 7 test matches. You've got 5 against India, 2 against Sri Lanka. If you can make some runs, you're playing in the Ashes as an opener, and you're set. No matter what happens, you're set. So I think that's the direction they will take. I think they should take. What I think they'll do, I think they'll go back to Travis Head or Marcus Harris. And
we'll discuss.
Travis Head has not been opening in domestic cricket. Hasn't been opening. He's been batting at 5. The cricket, he played a domestic game against WA in Adelaide, which I went to, by the way. I went to that game. Did not open.
Okay.
Cricket Australia did not tell him to open. So I don't understand why they would say to him, look, we want you open when you didn't want him to open in the first place. But I think it's down to Marcus Harris or Travis Head. And in that case, I don't like any option because Bumrah's going to have a field day against Marcus Harris, and Travis Head is not a bloody opener. So that's a real problem, a real headache.
Yep, we'll discuss this in detail once Australia team got announced. Probably for how many days gonna Australian management take to announce this team?
Yeah, they'll wait after the India A game because there is still one more innings to go. So there's still an opportunity for McSweeney, who's opening, and Harris that's opening, to see what happens. So if one fails and the other gets runs, I'll tell you this, whoever gets the most runs in that second innings, now this is assuming India A go past the target and make them bat again, but whoever gets the most runs in the second innings will get in that team. And it's looking like Marcus Harris.
We'll discuss this once the Australia team announced. We'll discuss this with you in detail. We'll wrap the show. I think it has been 1.5 hours. So we'll take this question, 2 questions, last 2 questions. Gaurav, are you the Aussie fan? By the way, I logged into the main. I am a cricket fan, Gul. And another one with you, Lucas. I have another question to Lucas. Lucas, do you think that some umpires are biased towards their home country when umpiring in matches happening in their country? Example, Aussie umpire in Australia.
This is something I wanted to discuss. Now, there was an incident last week with India A in a ball change where the India A captain wanted to change a ball. Umpire said, you're not going to do that. and I think the India A player has taken. There's a little scruff mark on the ball. I haven't actually got a ball to show you, but you know how balls they get scruffed up. I think what he's done is peeled off the scrap. So you're supposed to ask an umpire. Umpire carries a pair of scissors. He'll cut off the little scrap,
Okay.
the little piece
Yes.
that's hanging off. He'll cut it.
Yes.
Now the Indian captain did not do that. Now I don't think this is an issue at all. But Cricket Australia's response was weak. They threw the umpire under the bus. So the umpire said, "I'm going to report you for ball tampering, and I'm going to report you for dissent." Now, in the stump mic, the Indian A captain said, "You're a poor umpire, blah blah blah. You shouldn't be umpiring." Umpire made a call to dissent. Cricket Australia's response was pathetic. Basically threw the umpire under the bus and said, "Well, basically more or less said the umpire made a mistake. We don't want you to pull out of the tour. There's nothing to see here." And then we've had comments from David Warner, who came out and called Cricket Australia weak. We've had players like Ed Cowan. I don't know if you remember Ed Cowan was an opening batsman for Australia.
Yes. He was the opening batsman in Australia. I think he did play in 2011 and 12 series.
He was known for being extremely slow in his strike rate.
Yes.
He came out and said that's a weak decision by Cricket Australia because you don't want to upset India. Well, if it was me, too bad. So I feel for that umpire because that umpire hasn't umpired this week in any domestic. There's talks that he will retire. He's only umpired 30, 40 games. And he's thinking about retiring because Cricket Australia didn't have their own didn't support him. I think that's weak. Now I understand India's a powerhouse, but with all due respect, if you come out and suspend an India A player and found him guilty of ball tampering, well, and if India pull out of that and say no, he didn't, we're going to pull out, well, so that's bad luck. That you just can't throw an umpire under the bus. He's made a determination that the Indian captain cut off the piece of the scruff off the ball and cut it off without the umpire getting his scissors and cutting it off. Now, I just said I don't think that's a big deal. I think a lot of bowlers do that. I used to do that in my career as a district bowler. Believe it or not, I didn't tell an umpire this ball was get scruffed. I would cut it off with my fingers. I think that's very common. Now, is that ball tampering? Technically, probably is. Yeah, well, that's another discussion I don't want to get into. But I've done it. I've done it numerous times. Yeah. It happens a lot with a new ball as well, because a batsman will hit it and a fluff will come off it, and I'd look at it and think, I'm just going to cut this off. Yes, you are supposed to tell an umpire, but I've done it in games. There's bowlers around the world that will do that, so I don't think it's a big issue. But I just don't like how Australia have thrown this umpire under the bus. I think it's poor. But if it's to not upset India, because let's be honest, if the India A captain got a ban, that would not look good. That would look pretty horrible. But at the same time, you've just suspended 4 years ago. You suspended 3 players for the same thing.
That's because of ball tampering.
Now, I'm not saying what the India A captain did is the same thing as what Steve Smith, David Warner did, but it's still ball tampering. Ball tampering is ball tampering, no matter what you use. Still under the law, ball tampering. So you suspend 3 cricketers. Your own cricketers, by the way, and I don't want to get into this, but so I'll wrap this up. You suspend 3 cricketers for God knows how long, and this situation comes up again in your backyard, and your best response is, well, I don't want to upset India, so we're just going to sweep it under a carpet. I think that's wrong. I think that's weak by Cricket Australia. I think they should have at least made an inquiry.
If you're talking, Lucas, I'm just interrupting you. You're talking about I don't want to upset India, but whom they were upsetting at that point of time, once Steve Smith and obviously David Warner and Cameron Bancroft was banned at that point of time. There was no India match at that point of time, right? So was there go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, just recently, this sandpaper gate hasn't even gone away, because just recently, David Warner's leadership ban has been dropped. I don't know if you know about that, but that's now been officially dropped. He can now captain a team. Technically, David Warner can play in the Test team tomorrow and captain it. Technically, because his ban's been dropped. So it just doesn't make sense. And by the way, Warner will captain the Sydney Thunder in the Big Bash. That's been official. So he will actually captain that team. And he couldn't captain the team without the leadership ban being dropped, because, as you know, the captaincy is a leadership thing.
Yes.
So fallout from that incident, that horrible incident in South Africa. God knows why they. Well, I know why they did it, but I don't want to get into it. It's still falling out 4 or 5 years later.
Because our conversation is also getting longer, and we need to wrap this as soon as possible. But the question, you need to answer this, because you are getting somewhere else.
No.
So the question was
no. Yeah. No, I don't think they are. I think they're fair. You have to understand that there's no DRS in these competitions.
Yes. We need to understand.
And in the Ranji Trophy, there's no DRS there either. And in the English county cricket, there's no DRS there. English umpires in the county, Indian umpires in the Ranji. You just have to accept the decision. End of it.
Yeah. So I think we are done. I think we have done this show for a longer period of time. We will continue to do the show. Lucas, you want to quickly wrap up by saying, do like it, guys, subscribe it, because Lucas is putting the hard yard towards this wonderful show. He has been doing the show, and he has promised itself that he will not do only the Red Bull format, but he will do the white ball format also. Yes, Lucas, go ahead. And do tell the viewers to keep on liking and subscribing the channel.
That's correct. And I said I'm going to do a review series of the ODI between Australia and Pakistan. That will be on Sunday. So that's in 2 days' time. So So as soon as that match is finished, we're going to go live. I'll be going live. I'll give a review of that series. So there's some white ball content for you. As soon as the Australian squad is announced, we will do that for you as well. And the T20 series against Pakistan next week, we're going to do that as well. So there's a lot of content to come.
Yeah. So do like and subscribe and follow to Lucas on Twitter itself. You can follow me also. It's Gauravan on Twitter also. And we'll get back soon.
Yep.
Lucas, you can wrap the show.
What you said, make sure you like and subscribe. There's my Twitter handle just down there, LucasCricket26. If you want to add Gauravid down there, or you can message me and I'll give it to you. But anyway, thank you, Gaurav, for watching. We'll make sure you get more involved in these, as you're a very busy person, so that's not always possible.
Yeah.
But to anyone out there watching, thank you so much. To the ball who's giving us questions all night, thank you so much. And we will see you on Sunday for the Pakistan-Australian series. Thank you, and goodbye.
Goodbye.